The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. We are now on to November 2nd, my second Topic Time show of the month. I have a last-minute fill-in guest tonight. She's a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Her name is Josephine Reed, correct?
Josephine Reese.
I
go by Jodi.
Jodi. She goes by Jodi. We're going to interview her tonight. She has a very fascinating story to tell. She brought a practice right here to the building, like within the last, I believe, 8 months, because I hadn't seen it up until that time. There was another business in the building, and she's very benevolent, as I said. She's a benevolent individual, helps a lot of people in need. But before we get to her, I've got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So, we have the barbershop in Whitman on Route 27. Debbie does a great job. You just go through the center, and she's on the left, past the center of Whitman. We got Johnny Macaroni's Restaurant. 3 locations. 2 in East Bridgewater, 1 in Halifax. We have our First Priority Autos in Middleborough. We have Lynch's Towing, Auto, Cycle, and Truck Center in Brockton. 1 number for towing, 1 number for projects. My friend Lynch is always in search of new scrap metal, wheels, anything to do with transportation. He does it all. We have the Hanover House of Pizza in Hanover. They make great Sicilian pizza, Greek salads, and they deliver. Great people working there. We have 1 good credit in Brockton. We have A1's Tire and Auto Center in Brockton. Always looking for new service writers and techs. And even if you don't know how to do it, send someone by that does. We have the Gunrunner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We have Autotown Auto Glass and Auto Body in Abington. We have Eli's Auto Care in Taunton. We have Easton Fitness right here in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We have the Rug Resort here in Northeastern, cleaning today for healthier tomorrow. We have Tom Auto in Middleborough. We have Doggy Boutique, all-breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next-door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We have Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We have RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. And we have Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And now, Jodi, thank you for being the last-minute guest on my show. You have a wonderful business over there. We're going to talk all about that. And I'm also going to profile you as, find out how you got into the industry. And I'm sure it's a fascinating story. So, how you doing tonight? I know this is quite an adventure for you, because you didn't expect to be doing this about 20 minutes ago, did you?
Oh, no, 5 minits ago.
Even 5 minutes you didn't expect to. I know. Well, I think we've covered 5 minutes. But I always say in life, everything happens for a reason. And I think that this is going to be the most beneficial show that people can possibly see under the circumstances. So, tell me a little about your business. You just opened it am I right about the 8-month thing? Because I'm only seen, as I recall, it's been like 8 months since I saw the sign Psychic Haven on the door.
So we opened Haven Psych.
Haven Psych, got it.
On June 5th.
Okay, right, so within 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and we're a psychiatric practice.
Okay.
It's 2 practitioners, myself and Dr. Jean Jacobs.
Okay.
We see clients from age 15 through adult.
Okay.
And basically, it's called Haven because we want to be the port against the storm of mental health.
I understand.
So how Haven came into existence is we were both working at a practice in Brockton that flooded and abruptly closed.
Wow.
So it was February, the first weekend of February, that really cold February.
Yes.
It flooded, and so we were faced with the owner of that practice said she was just going to close. So
Okay.
we had 90 days to
vacate.
do something.
Oh.
And that we had almost 500 patients there that were going to be without care.
Wow.
So what I did is I went to the Chamber of Commerce first
Okay.
in Brockton.
Yep.
I worked with SCORE,
Okay.
which is a wonderful. SCORE is a organization that helps mentor.
Okay.
It's a free service.
Okay.
It's federally funded, so they help mentor you into opening a business.
Okay.
I opened a business, so I had to apply to open the business, and we got up and running in less than 90 days.
That's fantastic. Okay. Is SCORE in the Chamber of Commerce building? They've assisted me in doing some things too about 30 years ago, and it's right on Legion Park. I'm not Legion Parkway. Well, actually, yes. It's in front of City Hall.
Yep.
Right, same, and then Scorer's in there too, right?
Yep.
Okay, wow.
They're a wonderful group. I had two wonderful mentors that I still work with.
That's awesome. Okay, and this since February of 20.
February, yeah, I got, so first you had to find a location.
Right.
And
You found a great one.
yeah, so I found this location, and you have to have a telephone number. And since you can't have a telephone number nowadays until you have installation,
Okay.
I'd use my cell phone. So,
Oh.
so my cell phone got listed as Haven, and so that was how we got to get up and running. I was established on March 28th, and then you need to do insurance credentialing and all of that.
Wow.
We got that pulled off by June 5th, and then Dr. Jacobs joined me in July.
Was that the lady that I just saw a few minutes ago?
No, it's Gene Jacob. He's a.
Oh, is that her? That's her husband, right?
No, that was a patient that was.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. Okay, that's fine. Well, but did you ever? Now, let me ask you this. This is kind of fascinating too. Now, before the flood you had at the Brockton Clinic, had you had dreams of or aspirations of owning your own business, or
No.
even expectations of it?
Never planned on opening a business. I went to work there January 3rd as kind of my retirement thing. I've been a nurse for many years. I've
Okay.
been a nurse since the 90s.
Okay.
So then I got my psychiatric nurse practitioner during COVID, seeing what a deficit and what a need there was for mental health services. So I did that, and I went to work at the office thinking I was going to work a couple days a week,
Okay.
and now I work every day.
Well, you like it. It's probably better this way, right?
Well, I think everybody deserves to have the best mental health
Okay.
and well-being that they can achieve.
Okay, I agree with you.
And the only way you can do that is it's not just about medications. It's about giving the medications to help them be able to learn the skills.
Right.
And then we go from there. But it should be a whole person. It should be, you've got to teach people the ways to live a better life and how to not let the outside noise get under
Okay.
their skin.
Well, you're talking to a person who's been through many mental health facilities. When I was a child, my parents didn't know what to do. I displayed some really crazy tendencies, and my parents sent me to a lot of therapists. Some of them told them I should be committed for 3 years at an emotionally disturbed hospital in Providence, and I would have been if they'd had the money to do it. Fortunately, they didn't. A couple of nuns tested me over at if you know Randolph at all, the Higashi School, which used to be the Boston School for the Deaf, and they told them that I was gifted. So I've been down that road. I know what it's like. I've had and I am autistic too, by the way. I've been diagnosed with autism, and the fact that I'm doing a show like this is pretty impressive. And there was a time when I was a teenager that I was pretty troubled. I wasn't, I couldn't find work or anything like that, and therapists were saying things like, maybe you should be, institutionalized for a bit. And I never took medication. It was recommended by some of them. I didn't want to do it because I was also a drug user myself as a teenager. I've done a complete 180 since then. And when I say drugs, I smoked weed. I did some of the things that the kids in the 70s did as a teenager, which is what I was back then. And I'm a perfect example of somebody that's been through mental health issues and has turned his life around. But the truth is, people like myself who have autism, and what it means is, the lack of social skills that we display, it's kind of like just a tendency. That's what, I've Googled it to death to figure out what it means, and now, being on the spectrum, I know exactly what it means, because in real life, I'm totally out of the loop when it comes to being sociable. I try to be, but my show gives me the opportunity to sweep that under the rug at least twice a week, because I try to do 2 shows a week, and it's very therapeutic for me, in addition to being, helpful to the people in the community as well. So I hope you can appreciate that as someone who does what you do.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the problem is there's too much stigma attached to mental health.
That's right.
We have people that have addiction, and when they get help and get better, they get, a badge, basically, staying sober,
Right.
which is a wonderful thing. But for mental health, when people realize something's not right,
Yeah.
they get stigmatized. So what we're trying to do is end that stigma and help people to live those productive lives and not feel bad and ashamed of having a diagnosis.
Exactly.
And it's a tough battle. It's something.
Don't I know it? Yeah.
Making people understand and stop using that stick that they use to beat themselves up with.
That's
Because
right.
That's the biggest stick we all have is, our self-doubt, our self-judgment. So understanding that, say something isn't right and I need a little help, should be rewarded
Yes.
instead of stigmatized.
It's true, but it's not. But you know, see, but society does tend to cast a negative shadow on the issue. Obviously, people that are in that situation, and I know I mean, I get picked on a lot as a kid. People called me some awful names, fat retard, because I was fat at one time, and so I know what it's like to turn your life around. And for years, for decades, I felt so persecuted by society, not so much society, but my peers in general, that I literally felt ashamed to say my name out loud. And it took me decades to finally start doing, when I started doing the show in 2010 at age almost 51, I couldn't believe what I did. It's like I'd opened a Pandora's box of blessings that I never even knew were there, that had been there the whole time. But look how long it took me to do that. And I know what it's like to go through that.
Well, there's so many things that affect our lives.
Right.
People experience trauma.
Yes.
And they box it. And they don't realize that it affects them later on in life.
Yep.
People get treated poorly like you did, and that has an effect on you.
It does.
So understanding that there's someone there to help
Yes.
and support, and that you're not alone, is a big thing, and that's simple kindness.
It is, yeah.
And compassion. A lot of people have not felt that.
Right.
They felt stigmatized. They got beat up. They got insulted. So we hope to give them a nice space where they can feel supported and they can grow.
Right, exactly.
Because we want to give them the best life possible.
Yep.
And that's a patient-centered thing. We're a team.
Yep.
If a lot of things of what I say to a patient is, basically my patients are the driver of the bus.
Yes.
So they're the ones that are the authority on how they feel. So they're going to tell me that so that I can help give them direction.
Right.
If they want to take a wrong turn, we're going to stop that wrong turn from happening.
Exactly.
But we're empowering them to take care of what they need to take care of.
Right. Now, do you just counsel adults, or did you say you counsel? What are the age range of your patients?
14 to 15 to adult.
To adult.
All the way through
Okay.
elderly, yeah.
But nobody under 14, because that's the most because when like I said, speaking for myself, as a kid who was stigmatized as somebody who was psychotic at the age as young as 7, that's really tough when you're that young, because.
Dr. Jacobs is certified for adolescents.
Okay.
So I do adults and geriatrics. I have found a lot of the older population don't have a lot of avenues to go to.
I'm sure that.
So we have a lot. It was a population that had been followed by the psychiatrists that the practice we were at had followed some of these patients for 25 to 30 years.
Wow.
So they have gotten older in the system, and now where do they go? So they were going to be left without care. So my patient panel is more towards the geriatric, because I took over a lot of those patients.
Okay.
Got more of a mix.
Okay. So how many patients do you have now, About
450.
They're coming here. Wow. Like every week, right?
Well, no. See, we're not just. I do counseling and med management. So I do counseling for patients that I'm doing med management for. Dr. Jacobs does med management.
Okay.
So we're not therapists. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and he's a psychiatrist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. So what exactly is the difference? I mean, I suppose I should know. I know. Well, here's one thing I know. One of the therapists I saw years ago, and he became nationally known because he had some quotes in the New York Times. He was on the Oprah show once talking about male violence and things like that. But his title, when I went to see him at McLean, I'm sure you're familiar with McLean Hospital. I used to see. I mean, I never was committed to McLean Hospital, but I used to see him on an outpatient basis at his office there. And his title was simply a doctor of philosophy, or not something like that. Not medical. It wasn't. It was like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know what the
He's a psychologist.
Psychologist, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was some top doctor, like a philosophical doctor, like a doctorate, like a certificate of philosophy. That's basically what his title was. But I mean, obviously, because he was so, he was so well touted in the world, in the national media, he was a pretty big deal. And I have to admit, I was kind of shocked. I saw him one day on CNN when there was a violent shooting in Milwaukee, and he was talking about the tendencies of the people that did it. That's all. He was not. I mean, I know there's a lot of different titles attached to the psychiatric industry as well.
So the both of us are able to diagnose patients.
Okay, and prescribe meds.
Medication.
Okay.
So,
So you are physicians, obviously.
well, I'm a nurse practitioner.
Oh, okay, all right, but
The good
obviously,
thing in Massachusetts, nurse practitioners can do independent practice at
Okay.
this point.
I understand.
So we can both do that as well. I do therapy. He does some therapy.
Okay.
But, so a therapist isn't able to just prescribe meds or diagnose.
Okay,
The psychologist can, but can't prescribe meds.
I understand,
So
but
they're on the medication aspect.
okay,
Medication and behavior management.
okay. Now, do you guys work with Rorschach pictures and things like that? And I'm just wondering, because I've never done that. I've always sort of been fascinated by it, though.
That would be more so, you send for testing. There are certain people that do that, like the psychologist will do the full battery of testing.
Okay.
So they would be doing that
Yep.
aspect of it. We do different kind of assessment, but a full battery of assessments, you send it out to a specialist that goes through all of that.
Okay. Well, so what kind of testing do you folks do with the patients? Or what, I mean,
Well,
aside from prescribing medications, I mean, you just talk to them about their personal issues and help them?
Somewhat, well, someone will come in and it's basically what brings them there, so
Yeah.
what issue they're having, and then we'll ask various questions to be able to diagnose by their symptoms, whether they have anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
bipolar, mood disorders. So we check with what the symptoms that they're having, which is a DSM-5, which is basically the diagnostic manual. So
Okay.
the certain symptoms attached to a certain diagnosis. So
Oh.
we do an initial eval where we check everything from birth to the present day.
Okay.
So finding out, their childhood, what happened in it. So what happened to them impacts where they are right now.
Right.
So we find out what that is, look at the symptoms, fit the diagnosis, and then decide on what their medication regime is.
Okay, or whether or not they need it at all. Some do and some don't.
Yep, some are just behavior management, some just need a little bit of help of figuring things out.
Yep,
And then on the therapy side, it's if they're having an issue or a crisis, sometimes it's a different perspective. Giving people different perspectives lets them know, because if we're having a conversation
right.
and you don't receive the message I'm giving, we didn't have a conversation.
That's like the tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it.
Exactly.
Yep, got it.
Or there's three perceptions. There's the tape that's being filmed.
Right,
There's your perception and my perception.
yes, true,
So,
yep,
but even if we look at the tape, our bias is still attached to it. So
Right.
there's never that one interpretation of anything going on. So we help people to understand others' perspectives.
Right.
Because that's the hardest. Communication, it is the hardest thing out there in the world.
it absolutely is, I
So-
know.
If you don't understand, many misconceptions can happen, many anger can happen because you got the wrong message
Yes.
that wasn't trying to be delivered. So
That's
we-
true, that happens every day all over the world. So communication isn't the hardest thing, it's the unity and the interaction between the people that are communicating.
Yep.
So where were you educated, if you don't mind me? I like to ask people where they get,
My first nursing degree was from Massasoit.
okay, yeah, local, backyard,
Yeah.
Okay.
Went to Massasoit, and then I've got my nurse practitioner from Regis College.
oh, that's in Quincy?
Um,
Or is it, it's in west of Boston, I think.
Yeah, Weston.
Well,
I'm terrible.
I know,
I'm geographically challenged.
that's okay, well, all right, but that's healthy, that's, all right. I understand, I know where, I mean, it doesn't matter, I know of
Like
Regis.
an associate's at Massasoit. I got Chamberlain School of Nursing. I got my bachelor's, and then
Chamberlain's Boston, right?
No, Chamberlain is New Jersey.
Oh, okay, I
And
thought,
then,
all right, so you basically have 3 degrees from 3 different schools? Okay, wow, okay, and how many years did it take you to get all of them?
So 2, 4, 6, 7.
So, okay, so you really,
But I did them throughout my life. So
Right.
I was a registered nurse.
Okay.
And then I got my bachelor's.
well, you were working all along, even while you were still going to school.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I've worn a lot of different nursing hats.
Okay, that's great. Have you ever written a thesis or anything like that, or a book, or
No, nothing published.
nothing? Would you ever consider trying it? Because it's, I mean,
Right now, there's not much spare time.
I understand. Okay, right. You have to do it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I understand because I know a lot of people Have you ever been highlighted in the media at all before this?
No.
Oh, good,
No,
okay.
This is my first.
That's
so.
great, what an honor. For both of us, I'd like to think. Okay, all right. How many patients do you usually see a day on average? Are you a night? Is this place, your place open 9 to 5?
We're open from 9 to 6.
9 to 6, okay.
Monday through Thursday, and then Friday by appointment only. So I see anywhere from 8 to 16.
That's not bad.
Dr. Jacobs can see, depending on the day, and it depends. If it's a follow-up appointment, so there's different appointments. Once someone's stable, it can be a 20-minute appointment, so
Yep.
you can see 3 patients in an hour.
20 minutes for one patient?
I do half-hour and hour appointments.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. A half hour I can see. 20 minutes is a little short, I would think, because based on my and the sessions I've had, usually they've lasted like 50 minutes.
Yeah. Well, if it's just med management, so you have to understand there are some people that just need a certain med.
Okay.
Pretty simple, they're very stable, so it's a check-in once every 3 months. So.
Okay. Tell me about some of the meds that you prescribe and what they do.
Oh,
There's the Annex, right?
There's anti-anxieties.
Right.
So the anti-anxieties is if you're having a panic attack
Right.
or something. Then there's antidepressants that also help with anxiety and depression. So depending, there is such a menagerie of meds out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
And there's mood stabilizers.
Yep.
So if you have somebody with bipolar, you want to get their mood stabilized if you're having mood swings.
Yep.
So, it's basically every single patient is tailored individually. Mental
Yes.
health is basically a chemical imbalance.
Okay, a lack of
So-
mental health, right?
Well, the chemical imbalance, so we
In the
have
brain, right?
Yeah, we have neurotransmitters that are giving off different chemicals in our body, and sometimes the gateways aren't opening. So
Okay.
medications basically either open the gates, attach the receptor, so it makes it work better, makes it work less, and so we have to figure out the right mix
Yes.
for that person's body chemistry.
Okay.
There's new things too available where you can do gene testing to check what your DNA would respond to. So
Wow, that's
there's
fascinating.
All kinds of different things you can do.
That probably wasn't available even like 5 years ago, right?
So it's new. We've started doing some of the gene testing to see when you have a really tough patient that the meds aren't working, instead of just trying another one, you can check their DNA to see how they'd respond.
That must be, yeah, I mean, does that happen often when the meds don't work? I mean, I suppose it could happen to anybody. I mean, meds can have weird effects on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people don't realize also, like, everybody thinks all our neurotransmitters are in our head. They're not. You've got them in the gut, the
Huh.
serotonin receptors. So our bodies are amazing things.
They are.
Human beings, they're amazing. And so we've got to find out what might work for you may not work for someone.
Else, yeah. Okay.
That's the puzzle.
And that's something that's what you had, that must have taken you a lot of years of schooling to learn, plus experience with different people too.
Well, that's what you do. That's why you have the conversation. So meeting with the person, and
Yeah.
I believe it's whole patient, because I like to know what is bothering
Yes.
the person, because it's not only what makes you happy, what makes you sad. So we've got to figure that out
Yeah.
so that we know what the right mix of meds are. Whether you need meds, sometimes it's short term,
Yep.
sometimes it's lifelong. Sometimes we have to talk to the patient about the stigma they feel,
Yeah.
because letting them know it's okay, it's not a crutch.
Right.
You know, there's so many bad thought processes attached to medications and mental health.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you had fun, because we're down to the final 5 minutes.
Oh, it was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure talking to you too. Just a quick question: when people now, as somebody myself, I was afraid to take meds because like I said, I took a lot of drugs when I was younger, and I managed to get myself free of those. In one fell swoop, cold turkey. You know, I look at life, if you do something every day that you shouldn't do, because I have asthma, so my doctor said if you keep smoking weed, you're going to have emphysema by the time you're 30. I don't even want to imagine what 40 would have been like. Now I'm 64, and I feel pretty good. So do you ever have patients that are stubborn about taking meds, and how do you deal with that?
Well, we don't force them to do anything.
Right.
It's, like I said, they're driving the bus.
Yes.
We show the pros and cons, the risks and benefits.
Okay.
And sometimes it's trial and error.
Yeah.
We go off meds. We try to get them off. If they build the skills up enough, that's the thing. You have to have this coping mechanisms. The meds are just to augment and help.
Okay. Right.
So we just work with totally transparent. This is what the meds do. This is what the risks are. This is what the benefits can be. and they try, and that's what open communication is all about. That's
Okay.
how it's successful. You empower them to want to do. And it's like if you got high blood pressure, your doctor could say, take this med,
Yep,
change your diet,
right,
and exercise, but you might be genetically disposed to not get your blood pressure to go down no matter what you do, and you need to take the med. Or you can choose not to. It's
Right.
the same with mental health.
yeah,
You know, you learn the skills, but sometimes you have a crisis where you need a little bit of help.
right, okay, interesting, okay. All right, well, you did a wonderful job. I hope we enlightened the public about your practice, and I learned a lot, things that I didn't even realize. It is a fascinating topic, obviously, and you did a wonderful job. And if you know anybody, any people any of your colleagues or any friends or whatever that have an interesting story to tell, I'm usually here every Thursday afternoon. What I'm going to do is I know you're not on Facebook, right?
But I haven't one you can send, yeah.
You are or you're not?
I don't go on it.
But you're on, but you have an account?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I was going to give you my phone number, and if you have anybody that you think might be a cool guest for my show based on your own experience, you can have them get in touch with me. I'm here every Thursday afternoon, usually doing a show. Next week it's going to be a Wednesday because they're busy, they're doing something on Thursday, but usually Thursdays. But I try to get a show in here once a week.
Okay.
All right, you did a great job. And is there anything about the profession you wanted to note on real quick before we wrap it up that you might have overlooked? If not, that's fine, but I'm just checking.
Basically, all I want to say is don't ever be afraid to get help for your mental wellness, and don't let stigma stop you from doing that.
Okay, and that's the advice I took. Somebody gave me years ago, and it took me so long to finally manifest it, but I have. Okay, now we're going to wrap the show up with my music. You can snap along if you want. If you do, please don't bang the table. No female guest I've ever had has banged the table. But I've had male guests that have banged the table, and there is a CD in there that makes it jump. But I don't think you would do that anyway.
No.
You didn't do it at the beginning, and I don't think you'll do it at the end. So we're going to wrap the show up. You ready? All right, folks. Thanks for watching the 2nd November edition of Topic Time. See you next week with another great guest. Signing off and rolling out.